Welcome to the Parenting with Confidence podcast. My name is Teresa Alexander Inman, board certified behavior analyst and infant toddler developmental specialist. I had to do that because my focus group told me that I should have, because I didn't do it in my last one. So there's my introduction, with my credentials. Anyway, so last episode, my friend Meredith Rose, speech language pathologist, joined me and talked about language and communication, how to help children develop language and communication. I want to continue that conversation because there is so much about language that, just so many tools that we need to share that are not, so many parents are not privy to, because you're probably on a waiting list somewhere to get services. And my goal is to fill in that gap until you do. So when you're communicating with your child, please, you make eye contact with them. Again, you're not forcing them to make eye contact with you, but you're making eye contact and you're smiling and you're excited and your body language says, yes, I want to be here with you. And, this is fun. Because if you're not looking at them, then what are they seeing, right? If they're on the floor, your ankles, your kneecaps, then they're missing out on so much of the language that we're offering to them, right? They're not seeing our facial expressions or the body language. It's just whatever. So, first thing, right? Secondly, your tone of voice. Your tone of voice should be happy. Let them know, hey, listen, you rock and I'm here to be with you. I am so pleased to be with you. You are right now the center of my universe. Okay. Because when you're at work, even though they are the center of the universe, you're not focused on them and you're not sitting on your phone, you are focused on them, right? And they get to see your smile. So please smile. Please, okay, because some people interact with children and it's very bland and monotone like this, and they're really not getting anything out of it. I mean, they are, but it's not the rich level that they would get if your tone is engaging and your voice is engaging and your body language is engaging, right? Then they learn so much more about the nuances of language, okay? Because really, this is the best way to teach it. We can't teach those nuances by saying, well, then you smile. So smiling means you take your lips go up and, model it for them, right? So that way they learn how to do it by observing because you're modeling it. All right, another thing, when you're speaking to your child, let's speak a little slower than you would to your friends because you want to enunciate so that they get it, right? So, I am happy, that kind of thing. Not, I'm happy, da, 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 like we're going on. So like I'm speaking to you, but yeah, slow it down just a tad as well so they can get it. And one of the examples that I love to use, have you ever heard a child say the alphabet, right? M-N-N-P. Like they have no idea what that is because often in song, it's just so many children, they muddle through that part, N-O-N-O-P or whatever. I've heard so many different combinations and ways that they say it. Yeah, so we want to enunciate so that they can learn to articulate when they do start using the words. Now, if they say anything, if they want something, so say they want, because most children today, they love playing with, these devices. So if they want the phone and they say something while reaching for the phone, give it to them because they made a sound for that, right? You want my phone, here it is, okay? Now, I'm not advocating or even promoting use of devices because they should be limited. As studies have shown that children on devices, actually their brains structurally shrink because it's just a one-way passive tool. Whereas if they're engaged with people, that experience actually builds more pathways in their brains, right? So they asked to limit screens to no more for especially preschoolers to no more than 1 hour a day. So I just wanted to throw that in because I am not telling you to have your child behind a device, but it's something, chances are it's a reinforcer for them. So yes, give it to them. Now limit the time that they have it. So you may give it to them and they have it for 2 minutes. And then you say, my turn, because don't ever just take something from a child. You want to communicate to them as you want them to communicate to you. So don't just take it, say my turn, and then then you have them give it to you. And if they make that sound again to ask for it, then again, you just keep playing that. Now, once they've done that for a while, then you want to hear something that's, and maybe make the F sound or the O sound or something, one of the sounds in phone, and then give it to them, right? If they don't make that sound, you're still going to give it to them because they made the effort to ask for it, but you're going to hesitate before giving to them. So in the beginning, you give it to them immediately. Then as they mastered that, then you give it to them, you wait, just a few seconds before giving them the phone. Right? And again, like I said, they're making the effort. So you want to reward that effort. Another thing with language, there's so much. Because I believe, and again, I just want to give you my rationale for doing this. So many tantrums are because children lack language. They lack the ability to ask for what they want. So if we can teach them to ask for something that they really, really like and give it to them, then we're reinforcing that, and they're more likely to use language because it works a lot faster than a tantrum. Because what I'm hoping is that you don't give them that thing when they start crying, because if you do, then you're teaching them that tantrum is more efficient than if I were to use a word to ask for something. Another thing that I want to add with language, when a child is learning to talk, or even if you feel that they've mastered the language, they may not always use it, right? Because think about it. You saw me pause because sometimes we know what we want to say, but it takes a moment for us to formulate all that to get it out there. Now, I hesitated and I've been on this world a bit. Imagine your baby who is learning is going to hesitate, and we don't want to punish them. And by punish, the only thing I mean is not reward, not respond in time, and then allow them at that behavior to decrease. So in behavior analysis, punishment just means a reduction in behavior. It doesn't mean that we slapped anybody. It just means a reduction in behavior. Okay. So like I said, the words may not automatically come. They may not come quickly. So you want to prompt that, right? Because if you know that they have the word, they have already mastered that, then you prompt by saying the word. So if now they're saying phone and you give them the phone and they're reaching up for the phone and they're not saying phone, right? Wait a few seconds, because you don't want to, we overhelp, and you don't want to take away that feeling that they get that I asked for what I wanted and I got what I wanted. So you wait a few seconds and then you say phone, and then they'll say phone, and then you give them the phone. Okay. But always make sure that they are doing something to get that phone. They're not just getting it for free, right? You and I, we ask, we just want to model for them what they're going to experience in the world. Because the world does not know your child, and they're not just going to give them they're not going to know what they want. Never mind, give it to them. So we want to ensure that we're giving them the tools to function in the world. Okay. Another thing with communication. Now, some children they may be able to talk, but it's not functional. And I'll just give you an example because I love to tell stories. So I work with this little guy. He is amazing. Okay, so I started with him when he was 3. I no longer work with him. Actually, we're just on consulting right now because he's mastered so many skills. So when something comes up, parents will call and say, hey, we're struggling with this. What can we do? So this is where we are right now. But at one point, I saw him a couple of times a week. And he would spell Geico, Nickelodeon. I mean, he was 3 years old and spelling all of these words and, able to read. Of course, there was no comprehension, but he could decode words like nobody's business. But he didn't know how to ask for water. He didn't know how to ask to get his needs met. And he would sit there thirsty and lick the sweat off a bottle instead of asking for water. So we use that to say, okay, I want water. So then that was the first request that we shaped. So gave him the water. And there are times when he'd just be randomly speaking and somehow or other the word water would be in there. Oh, here's water. And then we'd give it to him. Right? So he said water, he got water. So then he started realizing, every time I say water, they give me that. So we did that, right? Because we want it to be natural, right? We're not going to sit there with a picture of water and say, I don't want to, and then teach them to ask for water that way. I want it to be the real thing, that real thirst quenching liquid that they wanted. So, and that's how we started with that. And, we went through all the different processes. So every time he said something, even though it was embedded, it was just like random words, we went ahead and gave him that. So now, he's using language, even telling his parents, that's not right, or I don't want to do that, or don't do that, sister, So it's just awesome how far he's come. Another example I want to give about a child who may have acquired language already and it's not forthcoming. So I was at a preschool one day and this little guy came in, he sat down and started crying. Then he threw his shoe across the room, totally unexpected because he'd never done that before. So a little girl beside him said, "Night." And then he said, "Night." And I said, "I'm tired." And he repeated, "I'm tired." Tantrum over, because now he had the words for that feeling that he was experiencing. Funny enough, later at lunch, he ate. He was a big guy. He was a big 3-year-old. Ate the sandwich that mom gave him and a banana. And started crying again. So of course everybody's like, they don't want to see shoes. They don't want, they don't want anybody hurt. So I went to him and said, because, we looking at that, we're like, he must still be hungry. So I went to him and I said, "I'm hungry. Miss Stacy, may I please have something to eat?" And he said, "I'm hungry. Miss Stacy, may I please have something to eat?" And that was the end of it. From there on, he knew because he had the words. And if he hesitated, we'd just say, "I'm hungry, Miss Stacy." And then he would say, he would continue. And then we'd fade it back. And then he'd say, "I'm hungry," and continue. Or then I'd look at him and say, I'd open my mouth to say "I," but not say anything. And then he would say, "I'm hungry." So, and we'll go deeper into these tools later on, like in another podcast, but I just wanted to give you some tools right now to help you with your child as your child develops language, or to help your child develop language. So I'm going to recap a little bit because I know I've gone off on a tangent, and I just want to make sure that you've got some real tools to help you. So again, if your child makes a sound, give them something if you know what they want. Right? So if they say, okay, so let's use a ball, for instance, right? They want a ball and they say, "buh," you give them the ball. They've mastered "buh." Now you want "ba." So the next time you want, after they've mastered that. So when I say next time, I'm talking maybe weeks down the road, right? They say "ba," and you give them the ball, right? If they say "buh," you hesitate. If they say "ba," you give it to them right away. Get that? Okay. So Then what we want, once they've mastered ba, then we want to add that L sound. Okay? So if they add, and every time you give it to them, say ball, right? You want the ball, here's the ball. So you respond like they asked you a question, because they did. They just didn't use a sentence to do so. They made, they used part of a word. So yeah, so then they say ba, then, okay, they've mastered ba. Now you want ball. So if they say ba, you hesitate. If they say ball, here's the ball, immediately give it to them, okay? And so that's how you can help reinforce that requesting for things. And always make it like, you want to teach with using something that they're highly motivated to get. Because if they don't want it, then what's the point? Don't try Kleenex or, a pen or, no, first of all, they're kind of unsafe unless they know how to use a pen early in life, but use something that they're motivated for. If they want to go outside and they say out and it's possible to go outside, then yes. If they like to be pushed on a swing and they say, then push them. And again, use the same strategies like I did with ball. Now, if your child is not vocal, we want to also address that because, again, I have no words, no sound that I can put together for whatever to communicate what I want. So sign's easy. Well, it's easier, I believe, than using a picture, because using a picture, they have to scan, right? Once they get to a certain level. Not to say you can't use a picture, but whether you use the sign or picture, give them a way to communicate. I like sign because it's faster and they always have their bodies with them. They always have their hands with them. So I'm working with a little guy who's 2 and non-vocal. So what we're doing is when he's hungry, because of course he has to be motivated, because if he's not hungry, he's not going to work, right? Because if he signs eat and you give him food, it's gonna be like, whatever. So it's gotta be motivated. And food is a great motivator. That's why often it's used in behavior analysis. Now it's always faded unless it's, again, food because I'm hungry. But it's often like for other things that we teach that are not related to food, sometimes food is used, okay? Like toilet training, which we'll get to at another time. Anyway, so what we've done when I'm there, I break up whatever he's eating into small pieces and I take his hand and eat and give it to him. Eat and give it to him. So every time he takes a piece, so I break it up to give him more opportunities to request and more opportunities for practice, right? So bit of food, sign, it goes in his mouth. Okay, even if I have to put it in his mouth, right? Because he may not readily pick it up because I'm already engaging one of his hands to get that, to get him to make the sign. So the beautiful thing was when I went back, Mom was like, oh, he signed independently like twice. I was like, yay. Right? And when I was there, that day, he also signed independently. So I was like, eat, and gave him, whatever it was. So, and I'm not focused right now on the thing because again, he's not using any words. So when he says eat, Mom knows what he likes to eat. We give him that thing. And of course, I use the word because I want him to know what he's eating, but I don't require him, it's not something that we're going to focus on right now because it's just getting that need met, okay? So I know I've said a whole lot. I hope you've taken notes. And I am going to stop here because, again, I don't want to just sit here rambling on. Like I said, I hope you've gotten a lot out of this. And if you have, please subscribe and share, because if you've gotten something out of it, somebody else will as well. Okay? Parent with Confidence.